Just when you think you know exactly the level of corruption and ineptitude on the part of the LAPD or LAFD and the city and Karen Bass, this comes up. This is a woman, by the way, who assumed office, and by the way, New York Post and others today are blasting this. Pardon me as I eructate. I'm so disgusted by her. But this is the woman who assumed office after being the champion of DEI. The word that today you just say this and it just DEI, diversity, equity, and insanity. And she swore to the Angelino she would address homelessness and environmental issues and all this. However, what she's now accused of is contributing to a systemic, fetid, corrupt city administration referred to as legalized corruption. Now, here's the story. Amid the scandals that have recently come under play, or now under heightened security even more so, this focus followed revelations and exposés that Bass and her administration defunded the fire department by $17 million. I heard about this, which critics argue basically left the city, as you can imagine, unprepared, ill-prepared, to combat even the most rudimentary of fires, much less combating the devastating wildfires currently wreaking havoc. Now, among the various indictments and arguments and the gravamen of the accusations involving top officials of her administration and questionable decisions, a deputy mayor is under FBI investigation for allegedly making bomb threats against City Hall. Then Bass endorsed a former councilor implicated in hush money payments, and her administration awarded a $750,000 salary, double the amount paid to her predecessor, to Janisse Quinones, the new CEO of the Department of Water and Power. This is a position, by the way, that was criticized for inefficiency, among other things, inter alia, as fires blazed and raged and the conflagrations erupted. And the scandals also extend to allegations of embezzlement, perjury, racketeering, bribery. This is among city council members, raising, as you can imagine, I love this, raising significant questions as to the governance in LA. You've got to be kidding. People are saying right now, very, very rightfully so, that corruption is deeply ingrained in LA politics. Jamie Court, who's president of the Consumer Watchdog, I should say, likened the situation to the plot of the classic film Chinatown, which depicted corruption in the city's water management, the DWP. Now this metastatic, if you will, huge, inane bureaucracy under mayoral and city council control. And it continues to generate billions and billions from ratepayers while facing allegations of prior inefficiency, poor accountability, and the like. And this lack of oversight, this criminal lack of oversight, reportedly contributed to again, this word is infrastructure of failures and collapse during the wildfire. Broken hydrants in the neighborhoods like Malibu and Pacific Palisades, all exacerbating, all adding worse to the crisis at hand. Janisse Quinones, appointed by Bass in 2023 again, has drawn incredible criticism for her performance at DWP, particularly during the Palisades fire. Now, despite these promises, these lofty promises to address past infrastructural wrongs and shortcomings, her tenure has been marked by accusations of negligence, including hydrants running dry, which defeats the purpose of the hydrant. Her leadership coincides with a broader lawsuit from Consumer Watchdog and the LA Times aiming to unseal documents exposing alleged extortion schemes involving the DWP and the LA City Attorney's Office. Now listen, The shadow of scandal and the depth of this and the murkiness also falls on Deputy Mayor Brian Williams, chosen by Bass to oversee critical departments like the police and fire services. Williams became embroiled in significant controversy after being identified as the likely source of a bomb threat against City Hall. Now, although the FBI raided his home, he maintained his innocence and has not been charged. Additionally, council member Curran Price Jr. faces charges of embezzlement and perjury, accused of accepting over $150,000 in bribes and improperly funding medical benefits for his girlfriend while still married. And further adding and compounding to this mess is the case of former council member Jose Huizar, who pleaded guilty to racketeering and tax evasion, and veteran politician Mark Ridley Thomas, who was sentenced to federal prison for bribery related to funneling funds to his son through the University of Southern California. Now, Bass herself was linked to USC through a scholarship provided by then-Dean Marilyn Flynn, who was later convicted in the Ridley Thomas case. Although prosecutors clarified Bass was not implicated in the wrongdoing, her later sponsorship of federal funding expansions for private universities like USC raises, as you can imagine, ethical questions. Now, this Bass lady has also faced tremendous backlashes and arguments for her absence during critical moments. She attended the inauguration of Ghana's president earlier this year, while wildfires raged. By the way, she said, I'm not going to be leaving, by the way, drawing criticism for prioritizing international engagements over local crises, and her attendance at a cocktail party during this trip further fueled public disapproval. Critics highlight her continued deflection of questions regarding her African trip as emblematic, as you can imagine, as a lack of transparency and tone deafness. Now, the city's pay-to-play culture, this is important, described as legalized corruption by Susan Shelley of the Southern California News Group, remains pervasive. Los Angeles politicians routinely solicit behested payments. These are donations from individuals to companies with business before the city. So such practices have funneled millions into funds like the Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles, raising ethical concerns, of course. Critics argue that these payments amount to extortion under the guise of legal frameworks, undermining public trust in what's left of city governance, I should say. And Bass, her tenure continues to face incredible scrutiny and criticism, with many pointing to her connections with controversial figures and her administration's role in exacerbating systemic issues, whether through allegations of financial improprieties or inadequate responses to emergencies or questionable, you name it, endorsements. The challenges facing her leadership underscore the broader concerns about absolute corruption. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you cannot make this up. You can't make this up. This is DEI, baby. This is DEI, and this is LA. You know what else is tragic? I found out recently that 87% of those individuals, 87% who watch my videos are not subscribed. 87%. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you right now, do yourself and me a favor. Subscribe to Lionel Nation or Lionel Legal. Both. But this is Lionel Legal. See, I'm so... Subscribe to this one. The one you're on now, subscribe to it. Because it puts us in the HOV lane, ladies and gentlemen, of those requested and suggested channels. Thank you for watching. Have a great and glorious day. And comment as you see fit.